Hey folks, it's Roger from There Be Giants, and I'm here with Joe, who is another one of our giants who takes care of a lot of our training and developing a lot of our fantastic coaches that we develop for clients. Oh God, no, I'm going to. Hey folks, it's Roger from There Be Giants. So here with a slightly different episode. We're starting to, in addition to our regular episodes, do what we're going to call PodBlogs. So we thought that when we write a blog and get it out there, obviously it's because it's kind of triggered something for us, something of interest, a nice reflection, something like that. And so we thought it was worth kind of just spending 10 minutes or so, not a massive amount of time, just 10 minutes, just kind of unpicking the main points that come out from it. So that's why I'm here with Joe from There Be Giants too. Joe does the training for the coaches that we help develop for our clients. So welcome, Joe. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Raj. Good to be here. I'm excited to dig into the blog and have a chat about it.
Yeah. So go on, tell the listeners what the title of the blog was, so we can know what it was about to start off with.
So the title of this blog was about people need to see themselves in the story. So it kind of sparked from, I delivered a workshop with somebody with a client that I've been working with for coming into their second year of OKRs. And we were doing some training with them. And yeah, it sparked after a training session with them.
Okay. And in terms of just, see yourself in the story, is this something to do with the change?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just unpack that a bit for us?
Yeah. So a lot of the times what I see, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, Raj, is with OKRs, of course, we're asking a business to work in a different way. So there is a change in there. Now, for people to really get on board with that change, they need to be able to see how it actually impacts them and how they fit in this whole story, not just the mechanics behind it or the framework or what they're doing, but actually why. So that's where it's all stemmed from. Yeah, the change that OKRs bring to an organization that hasn't been working with them.
Right. Okay. And in your experience, do organizations usually get this right, or do they tend to mainly get it wrong?
Honestly, mainly get it wrong, which is actually a shame, because sometimes I do see that businesses, say if you had a tick box or a checklist of everything you should do with a change, businesses sometimes will even, tick off all the things on the checklist, but still don't manage to get it right. And I do think it's because, if I'm going off piece slightly here, but I think sometimes it does depend on the people within the business, sometimes how they adopt change, if they find change easy.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of people that don't find change easy, that can impact the whole business sometimes. But yeah, mainly I do see businesses struggling with this for sure.
Okay. And reading through the article, there was a suggestion that leaders often miss the opportunity to explain what's changing, but in particular why it matters to the individuals. Do you think that's the crux of this? Do you think that's from many organizations or leadership teams? Do you think that's the bit that they miss?
Yeah, because I think sometimes it's really obvious at a leadership level why you're doing it or how it's going to impact people. But I think sometimes it's that communication piece of actually trying to translate it to the people.
Yeah.
So it'll be very different from an exec level or leadership team level to actually somebody that's really sort of in the day-to-day work. It will feel different. So I think sometimes it's that miscommunication between the two.
Yeah, I think you touch upon a really interesting point, and I kind of think of it as like a bit of a blind spot sometimes for leadership teams, because they often operate, exist, and think, and I don't mean this in the slightest way disrespectfully, but at a different level to a lot of the organization. They have a more strategic view, more longer term view, kind of can perhaps feel a bit more comfortable with working at an abstract level where they can see moving from A to B, but that's quite a leap, and they'd not that too fussed about knowing the detail of what is in that move from A to B.
Mm.
And I saw a really interesting example last week in a workshop with a client where we were literally at the end of the process where of the day where they were assigning kind of owners to various different key results that had been created. And there was one person who was in a team who was, she was at pains to say, look, I'm not trying to be obstructive here. I just need to get my head around what needs to be done for this, what this means, and she was quite clearly very, very operationally kind of minded, and the way her approach works, and this I'm sure is what she does for a job day in, day out, so it works for her in her job, was she's got to know what step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 is. So being asked to own a result without any sort of action plan beneath it was something that was really anxiety inducing for her.
I can imagine.
And I saw a little bit of tension between her and the leader around this. So I think it's kind of understanding that, or helping leaders to understand that there is a bit of a gap there. And because of the collaborative approach that we take and trying to pull in those contributors from the wider teams, that means that there will be times where they encounter people where there is quite a gap.
Yeah, and we're talking here about trying to help leaders understand that. But actually, this is where, when I spend time with the coaches, we talk about how the coaches can help to bridge that gap. So spending time with people, the teams or squads, the people that are actually working with OKRs, and almost having like lunch and learns, or having just sessions where actually the coaches can really help contextualize it for those people that are working it. So actually, what does it mean for them? What does it mean for this particular team working on it? What does it mean for this team? And the coaches can help to bridge that gap sometimes as well.
Absolutely. And coming back to what you wrote, in the workshop that you talk about, you said you expected people to talk about focus, prioritization, and accountability, but instead they got really excited about collaboration.
Yeah, really excited about it.
Why do you think that was?
I think there's an element of working with people you haven't worked with before is something new. It's something exciting. But also I think we're in a world at the minute where we spend a lot of our time sort of on Teams calls, probably day in, day out, probably feels quite similar. So then actually, if you're working with people outside of your normal realm, it's a bit like, oh, feels new, feels exciting. It's something different. You've got opportunities to, come together, come into the actual office, have a bit of time with people you wouldn't usually spend time with, and you're sort of getting to know people that you wouldn't usually know. So I think it's just an opportunity to spend time with people that you wouldn't, and actually I think there's an element of learning from other people. If you're spending, and honestly that's why I love my job, going off piece again slightly, but because I get to spend so much time with different organizations and different people, you see different thinking and you see different ways to approach things, and it's quite intriguing, because you think, well, I wouldn't have thought about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It broadens people's thinking, people's horizons. Absolutely. So listening to your story and, talking about your experiences with that particular workshop, it feels like this isn't really about OKRs at all. It's about helping people to connect their work to something bigger. Yeah. Do you think that's the real kind of lesson here?
Massively, yeah. Because I don't think this is just linked to OKRs at all. I think it's linked to, like you said, the bigger picture piece. I mean, OKRs really are just the way or the framework to help you achieve those bigger goals. So in whatever you're doing, if you're trying to do something differently, or trying to do a change, or trying to get people to connect their work to a bigger purpose, they need to understand why. And if you actually want people to just get behind things, again, they need to understand the why. And this is why I use the analogy around, if you've just stepped into a series halfway through, you're never fully invested in it.
No.
Like, you sat there thinking you kind of know what's going on, you can kind of grasp it, but then you're a bit like, whatever. Like, if you're watching it, if your partner's kind of been watching it and you've been there in the background, But then all of a sudden you kind of do get quite interested. You're like, well, actually, I want to start this from the start, because then you want to really understand it and follow it along. And I think it's exactly the same.
Yeah, no, that's a really good analogy, actually, diving into a series halfway through. Sometimes even those bits at the beginning where they go, and this is what happened in the previous episode, isn't quite enough, is it? You have to just go, oh, let's just go back to the start again. Okay, so closing question, one piece of advice. If there's one thing that every leader should do differently tomorrow when introducing change, what would you suggest? Okay, so bearing all that in mind, what's the one thing, the one takeaway that you would give to a leader around how they can approach change differently? What's the one thing they could do tomorrow? What would you offer them?
Really think about how people fit in your story, in the business's story, and how it impacts them. So they can really then connect to it on a more individual level.
Great. Thanks very much, Jo.
Thanks,
look forward to discussing the next one with you very soon.
Yeah, me too. All right. Okay. Catch you in a bit.
Bye.